everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's show, we have got tons of news to be talking to you about. So we're going to be talking about a special Verizon deal. We'll be talking about new documentaries coming to Disney Plus, High School Musical, weekly shows, Disney Family movies closing down, and a lot more besides. But before we go any further, just a quick bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you do subscribe either to the YouTube channel or on the audio platforms as well. And also just a big thank you to our Patreons. So we've got Diane, we've got Julie, and we've also got Russell. And also just a big shout out as well to Andrew for joining this week as well. Your support really does make all the difference and will just basically allows the podcast to continue. So just wanted to say thank you to them. So James, before we get into the news, what have you been watching this week?
Not an incredible amount. I watched The Phantom Menace because I'm going to go through and do the Star Wars movies. Probably going to skip Solo since I watched that very recently. I think it was only a couple weeks back. But otherwise, going to do all of them, including Rogue One, not including the Clone Wars animated movie that preceded the series. Going to skip that one. But yeah, started with Phantom Menace, and it hasn't aged well at all. I mean, it wasn't. Let's be fair. It wasn't that particularly good to begin with, even back in, 1999 or whenever it came out. I remember coming out of the theater going, yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing. It had some good fights in it. I mean, you can say whatever you want about, them attacking each other's lightsabers rather than attacking each other and doing all this flips and dance stuff. It looks pretty cool, and it was fun to watch.
That fight scene still holds up, I think. I still think
it's pretty good. And then on top of that, I did watch the latest episode of Resistance, Star Wars Resistance. And this was the episode where I was kind of like, back when they first announced the series, I was like, this is the kind of episode I wanted. Because they're talking, when they promoted it, they were talking about spaceships and fights, and these are the aces. And then turned out like the show was almost nothing about any of those characters at all. This episode was about those characters. They did stuff in space. There were battles. There were team bonding. There was a weird giant manta monster thing, which was honestly kind of out of left field. But otherwise, this was the kind of episode where if they had started out last season with this, I'd be much more engaged with this show.
Yeah, I still need to start off with that one. But like you, I have been doing the Star Wars run through, and so I've watched Force Awakens a couple of nights ago. So I've now gone through the first two trilogies, now going through the next ones. So yeah, I was thinking Rogue One and Solo, I'm probably going to do later. I was a bit like, as long as I get through the main 8, I mean, I've already watched all 6 seasons of the Clone Wars earlier this year on Disney Life. So I'm kind of feeling good. It was kind of a thing of like watching Force Awakens going, yeah, this is good. I mean, like going into Last Jedi, I'm like, yep, I'm looking forward to it. Got my ticket booked for Skywalker, so that's all sorted. Which, by the way, if you are interested, it's just Disney Plus. It will probably be about 6 to 8 months after that one, but we'll go into the trailer a little bit later on. But so watch that one. Last night I watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We're going to be sort of kicking off soon our sort of spin-off extra podcast, the What's on Disney Plus Club, where we're going to be looking at some classic stuff. And I thought, no, I'm going to watch that last night because about an hour and a half. And I was like, that kind of thing. Like, I remember this movie, and then you watch it and go, yeah, I didn't remember half of this. so watch. But we'll obviously be going into a little bit more detail on a future episode for that one. I've definitely watched a few shows on National Geographic and a few other bits and pieces but mainly been focusing on the Star Wars movies to kind of get through them. But yeah, it's been quite a busy week for bits and pieces. Still haven't quite gone and seen Maleficent. We are planning on going to see it over the weekend, but we might not. It depends if something else comes up. It's one of those things with Maleficent where it's a bit like, we might see it, but if we don't see it, it doesn't really matter. But yeah,
I'm not particularly eager to go see it. I probably will see it, but in theaters. I mean, I obviously will see it by the time it gets to Disney Plus, but I'll probably see it like on a discount or a matinee early morning show and just kind of roll through it. I'm not expecting all that much from it, so see it eventually. I did want to make one note for people who are thinking about doing the Star Wars rewatch. Rogue One popped up there. For me personally, there's no right way or wrong way, but for me personally, Rogue One I'm going to watch in front of A New Hope, and I'm gonna kind of watch them together. Like the rest, I'm doing one a week kind of thing. Yeah. Rogue One and A New Hope I'll probably watch back to back because while Rogue One is my favorite of the Disney Star Wars movies, I think it doesn't hold up well as a movie by itself. Like it doesn't have a particularly satisfying ending. A lot of the plot stuff really kind of continues on into A New Hope. So I consider them like at this point one really long movie, and that's how I'm going to watch them.
I haven't watched Rogue One yet. I was going to do that after Last Jedi because it was kind of felt like if I didn't have enough time to watch it before the movie came out, it didn't matter. But it does nicely. I'm going to watch it again because I want to. But and there's this kind of thing of like I'm trying to catch up on a few movies and stuff that I want to watch before Disney Plus launches, because I know once all the new stuff starts dropping, and there's some things on there that I want to watch. But I'm going to try and get through all of them before Disney Plus launches. Because I'm using Disney Plus, but it's that thing of like all the new shows and stuff. So that was my reckoning of like getting through that. I think I'm gonna try and watch Sword in the Stone over the next few days to kind of for another upcoming video that we're going to be doing. But yeah, it's definitely kind of cool to go through and watch all this Star Wars stuff again.
Yeah, it's fun nostalgia. Most of these movies, even the prequels, I can kind of recite by heart. I don't really have to watch them, especially the original trilogy. I could probably just play the entire movie in my head, honestly. Can't do that with the sequel duology as it is right now, but probably eventually.
Yes, it won't take too long. Right, okay, so let's jump into the news. And there was a lot of news. Last week, obviously, we did a really bumper episode about all this content on Disney Plus, so there was a few little bits and pieces that might sneak over from the previous week, but let's jump into the big news. Really was, first off, Disney have been kind of confirming that it looks like Friday is going to be the big news drop for new content on Disney Plus. They've been updating their fact sheets on the official page, and so we know The Mandalorian. So what they're going to be doing is first episodes are all going to be available of things like The Mandalorian, High School Musical, the musical, the series. We've also got Encore, National Geographic's The World According to Jeff Goldblum. They are all going to, and also Marvel's Hero Project. They're all going to have their first episode available when it launches on November the 12th. And then they will subsequently put on a second episode that following Friday. I think it's like the 15th or 14th, 15th, I think it is. So then every Friday after that, we will be getting new episodes of each of those series. The only exception is the weekend, the Friday that Star Wars Rise of Skywalker comes out. They are shifting The Mandalorian to the Wednesday that week, which I think is kind of a good thing, because it's going to be a bit of Star Wars. So they are moving it. But those all have said Fridays. We don't yet know about Encore, sorry. That one's the one that hasn't been confirmed yet, but the other ones have all stayed in their official details that they're coming. The Mandalorian, they even went as far as actually giving us the dates, which I thought was, and the last episode of The Mandalorian arrives on the 27th of December. So that's good that we're kind of getting this information. Also, One Day at Disney, they also confirmed back when they announced the press release for that one, that new episodes, it would be available on February the 3rd of December, and subsequently they said every week after that. So I'm assuming if they've already said Fridays in the press release, that would be the same. So it looks like Fridays are going to be the big new day. The only thing I want to put on that is, doesn't necessarily look that will be it as far as updates just on Fridays, because we do know obviously that Mandalorian episode going up on a Wednesday. We also know officially that Avengers Endgame is going to be coming on Wednesday, December the 11th for Avengers Endgame. So they might be doing more drops in the week, but the new content looks to be Fridays, which is kind of, it's like there's a really a good day to put them up, but Fridays might work better for us, because that's literally we've got all day to watch an episode or two before we do the podcast. But generally, I was like, if it was a Tuesday, it would have been. But yeah, Friday is right in time for the weekend. Get everyone in for the new content.
Yeah, like you said, Friday is probably not the best day for us, but at least it's not Saturday. It's not the day after we record. Yeah. So so Mandalorian you saw last week is now.
Yeah.
To be honest, I kind of wish they had staggered this a bit, though. Having everything on Friday makes it easy, makes it convenient. You know when it's coming out. There's no having to look at a calendar. Yeah. Oh, this show is on that day. This show's on that day. But honestly, I do prefer that. Maybe it's the years and years of ingrained television. You know, this is the night that Resistance is on. This is the night DuckTales is on. This is the night that Big Hero 6 is on, what have you. And it does also kind of scatter it, or it would scatter out a bit, where you can go, all right, it's Wednesday night. A couple of shows have come out. A couple I'm still waiting on. It kind of limits what I'm going to be looking at, whereas everything drops on Friday, which is what's going to happen. But if everything drops on Friday, I'm going, oh, what do I watch first? What is the most important to me? Or what is the second most important after The Mandalorian? You know?
The one thing is that it might bring people in every weekend.
True.
And that might be the thing they're looking at of going, we need to get people in to keep subscribers. You need to feel, you almost feel like, when you're looking at your subscription service, you're going, have I used it this week? If you haven't, then you start going, do I need to what? So if they keep getting you coming in for that, so that will keep you going. I think this is definitely a good move in terms of how they're doing it. Again, I would have liked the staggered release, like one a day, or it would have been, if there's that line, because I know Netflix tends to drop a lot more on the Fridays. Even the Disney Channel tends to drop all their new episodes on a Friday when they release their schedule. So it kind of makes sense of what they're doing. I think the big question is really going to come into of what about the legacy content, how quickly shows from National Geographic and the Disney Channel get moved on, because if they're 24 hours, or if they could be weeks, they could be months. We don't yet know how that's all going to work. They still haven't really confirmed that one. But yeah, it's odd. I'm hoping that we get a little bit more drops in the week of that kind of content. But if everything drops on a Friday, well, then that's just the way they've planned it. But you even look at Hulu and stuff. That seems, a lot of these streaming services tend to focus on getting everything out on one day, and they drip feed bits and pieces on outside of that. It might just be that the Disney originals go up on a Friday. That might be the policy. That could be the way they look at it.
Yeah, we have no idea really.
No.
It is worth keeping in mind, of course, that not everybody keeps the standard Monday to Friday, which is going to be frustrating for them, because if your weekend is Tuesday, Wednesday, or something like that, now, it can be frustrating, and that's another reason why I wish they kind of stagger it out, because sometimes that you try to get as many people as possible. Obviously, Monday through Friday is the standard 9 to 5, whatever. Most countries follow something along those lines, but it would be nice if they kind of staggered it out a bit.
Well, it kind of worked out for me, because Thursday and Fridays are our weekend, so Friday is my Sunday, so it's kind of worked out so that in the morning. I think some of the episodes are going to be a lot easier to catch up with. Things like One Day at Disney is going to be a few minutes. If there's a short or something like that, that's going to be nice and quick and easy to jump into. But there again, it's going to become a priority thing of Mandalorian, Jeff Goldblum, Encore, and then High School Musical will be my routine, and then Marvel Hero Project at the very bottom. It depends. That one's good. So if we get reviews on, I'm going to be honest, for us to get through all of their for the podcast, we'll be trying our best, but there will be that situation of, we're going to have to prioritize what we want to watch. And, there's quite a mix of shows there, but it might end up being the other way around. I might like High School Musical, the series, more than Encore or something like that. So it depends. I might even go, oh, this is really good, and watch it before The Mandalorian. It's never going to happen, but it might.
You never know.
No.
You never know. We do know The Mandalorian had a preview event a couple of days back, or a week back, where a whole bunch of people went in there and saw it and thought it was great, and went out and told everyone that they thought it was great, which is which is always fantastic news. But I strongly encourage people to take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, we're both super excited for The Mandalorian, so this isn't no, it's going to be terrible. Just the people who would have seen this early would have been very carefully screened by Disney to be these are the people who are going to go out there and love it. And they probably also have a very, very strict
I think
non-disclosure
they only
agreement.
saw like 27 minutes of
Yeah.
of collections and stuff. So I mean, we're literally now 2.5 weeks away from Disney Plus launching. So they're going to be coming soon. They've already sort of started. They're already like into the first week of filming for the second season. They know this is good. They know this is going to be a strong series. The fact that High School Musical, the series, has got a second series already, that sounds good. The fact of, I mean, there's a few people asking like, well, how can they do it? The people haven't seen it yet. It's like, yeah, but the people at Disney have seen it and will know. They will know when you watch a show going, oh, this isn't good or this is great, and I think they want to build on that, and they've got to make that decisions now while everyone's still kind of in that system. But yeah, it's definitely good that we're getting this news. It's only a few weeks away now, so it's kind of quite exciting the fact that all these shows we've been talking about are coming up in, we're going to be able to watch in literally a few weeks' time.
Yeah, honestly, it's been a while coming.
Yeah,
I want to get on with the actual show where we talk about shows that are actually on Disney Plus.
It's one of those weird things of like, obviously for me, always having Disney Life, I've always had the access to the Disney streaming service, but because I've been using Disney Plus since September, since it launched in the Netherlands, it's that kind of thing of like last night of like, oh, I'll fire at Disney Plus. But now it's been a bit like they've only really put like one movie on in like a month, so it's always a bit like, oh, okay, let's find some legacy. There's nothing like really new to watch on there, and yeah, I'm going through the legacy stuff, but this new content is for me is the biggest selling point for Disney Plus because Disney Life doesn't have that. And that's what it's been missing. So all these new shows are looking good. But I'm also just interested to see what they do with that legacy content from like the Disney Channel and how that starts. So we can start like having an idea of like going, oh, that episode drops on a Friday. Oh, it's available now on Disney. It's the way that there was, for example, the Disney Channel put out their release schedule for November. And everything is very much along the lines of exclusively premiering on the Disney Channel. And I'm like, that's quite wording is very much along the lines of exclusive premiere on the Disney Channel is very much in my mind of going, yeah, because they know it's going other places afterwards.
Yeah, I guess. But I always grew up, watching trailers for movies or what have you, and it would always be exclusively in theaters and be like, but it's going to be on videotape like within a year. That's not so. Yeah, I mean, but they have to advertise it that way, of course, because they want you to go to the theater to watch the movie. They want you to tune into the Disney Channel to watch the television show, as long as the Disney Channel is the lead product and Disney Plus is the secondary product. They can't advertise it as Disney Channel now, Disney Plus in 4 months, because then people will be like, well, I already have Disney Plus, so I'll watch it then. And you lose that urgency of having to tune in at the time that it premieres, which of course means they sell less ads because people aren't watching it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all it's one of those wink, wink. We know it's actually coming to Disney Plus, but we can't say it because of advertising. No, so it's going to be straight interesting. I'm really hoping that we, by next month we'll have a much clearer idea of how that's all going to work. I mean, one of the things that threw me off are things like Kingdom of the White Wolf from National Geographic being on there within like a few weeks of it launching and stuff like that. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one. So jumping on to another topic. This one came in a big press release on the Tuesday. Was Verizon have announced that all of their, now I'm gonna have to read this one because obviously, and I'm not a Verizon customer, so I don't know. And you have a different system over there. So they are offering a free Disney Plus for a year for anyone that is a wireless unlimited customer and a new 5G home internet and Fios home internet customers. So they are going to be able to get it through them. It also looks like, according to what I saw on the Facebook group as well, it looks like it's been stacking. So if you've already got got it for a year or you've done the 3-year deal, they pause it while you're on a Verizon. So that's going to be good. But again, we need to just wait and clarify that one with Disney. But that's what someone showed a screenshot of a message that they got back from them, which would make sense because that would really annoy people if you've paid for a year and then you get given a year on top. It makes sense for them there to pause it or stack it. And
they will know that there's like a way of, if you go to verizon.com/Disney Plus, you can put in your details, and then it's I think it's basically everything's going to kick off when it launches on the 12th, and you can sign up that way, and they just pause it. But great. And also as well, that gives you a chance because you've got a week of the free trial anyway, so they wouldn't charge you necessarily if you did like the annual policy. But great news for Verizon customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you can get a perk out of something that you probably have to get anyway, because it's pretty much impossible to go without a cell phone in modern times, unfortunately. So if you can get a perk that goes along with it, fantastic. And this gets more subscribers to Disney Plus, gets more exposure, win-win all around. This is also not unfamiliar to American customers. I think it's T-Mobile maybe has a similar deal with Netflix where you sign up for a year of T-Mobile. I'm assuming it's T-Mobile. If I'm wrong, just insert the right one in your head.
I'm sure wasn't there one with Hulu as well, I think.
I'm pretty sure Hulu has had this deal at some point as well. So it's pretty common. It's almost expected, actually. But either way, it gets it in front of people who would not otherwise be doing it, because everything we've seen before now has been targeted specifically at Disney fans. You're part of the movie club. You're part of the DVC. You're part of the Gold D23. But this is to everybody. If you are a Verizon customer, and Verizon does have a lot of mobile customers, all of a sudden you're getting exposed to this free program, and of course the hope is that you get addicted to it, and after the free year you continue to subscribe. Yeah,
see, I actually came from a slightly different one. Because does Comcast have a mobile system over in the? Are they a mobile provider as well? Because I wasn't 100% sure. Because I was looking at this and thinking, well, if Comcast have got Peacock and AT&T have got HBO Now, when they launch next year, it might be that Verizon was looking, going, we need to offer something because these other ones are going to do something as well. And that's where my mind went straight to that. I'm thinking, it might have been Verizon that wanted this more than Disney, because they know that something's coming down the line that they can't offer.
Entirely possible. I don't know who approached who. No. Obviously, I don't know. But at the end of the day, no matter who initiated, this is definitely something both sides wanted. And without all that messy being competitors of each other, the way Amazon and Disney are going at the moment, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. But I thought that was good. I mean, as well as that, the fact that it does say existing customers that are on the wireless unlimited customers and new 5G customers, and it's all a bit one of those situations with anything. I'm just reading out this bit here. So to new and all existing 4G, LTE, and 5G unlimited wireless customers will also be offered the 12 months to new. So they kind of, it's not like they are going fully down the line of new customers only. There are some existing ones getting it as well, because I know how we all hate it when cable companies and stuff will only give us new customer stuff. So that's definitely good news. It definitely was a very popular story. So that one was good. Okay, so we've got a couple of other bits and pieces. So first off, Sea of Shadows is going to be coming to National Geographic on November the 9th. This is a documentary that has won a number of awards and looks like it's going to be definitely much in the Oscar run for this year. And the fact that it's going to be coming on Saturday the 9th, we don't yet know when it's going to be coming to Disney Plus, but this one is, you can't have the word Oscar buzz and National Geographic and it being a PG-13. It's like, and it's being made by, it was made by Leonardo DiCaprio's team or something. This has got buzz and publicity written all over it for Disney Plus.
This is an interesting one because it's almost not really a documentary. It's more investigative journalism, which you don't typically associate with National Geographic. But when you actually look through their back catalog, you're like, actually, they've got a pretty solid history of it. Now, I haven't seen it. I did watch the trailer, which is up on the What's on DisneyPlus.com webpage. It's a very interesting story that I knew nothing about. Which is what you kind of want in documentaries. It's nice to reinforce knowledge about things like dinosaur space, whatever. But it's always fun or this one's not fun. That's the wrong adjective for that. But it's always interesting to see a documentary on something that you don't know anything about and kind of expanding your knowledge base.
I mean, for me as well, I mean, this is straight up my thing of I'm wanting to watch. You don't realize I'm sat here. I am about 9-10 foot from the sea, and earlier this week we did have some dolphins playing just outside of here. I could see from where I'm sat. You know, this is the thing. This is close. This is a lot more closer to me, and anything like to do with the sea and stuff, I love. So I can't help but think this one's going to be on Disney Plus quite quickly. This one's going to be right up there for being pushed for the fact that, like with Free Solo, that kind of Oscar-winning an Oscar-nominated movie kind of thing is definitely going to be a push that they want to push Disney Plus as having. So yeah, I can't imagine this one's going to be taking too long to arrive on it. I can't wait to watch that one. I'm really looking forward to this movie.
No, I don't think it'll take very long at all. I think, in fact, National Geographic's probably in general, we won't see a very long delay between broadcasts and getting on Disney Plus. Unlike traditional Disney animation movies or live action animation movies, where they don't want to cannibalize DVD and digital purchase sales, not Disney Plus, but like they want people to still go and buy the Blu-rays. National Geographic's has never really made its business on the physical media market. A lot of it is on having this content, getting it into classrooms, getting into libraries. So they're not as concerned about stealing their own revenue by putting it on Disney Plus really fast.
I mean, this movie came out in cinemas back in July, so it's had its run in the theaters. It's going to be airing on National Geographic on the 9th, but it's not even going to have adverts. It's commercial free. And also it's airing because they haven't got the streaming issues, because they've not signed any licenses. Everything's around the world much quicker. I mean, I remember watching Pittsburgh versus Paris to Pittsburgh on YouTube. They put the whole thing up on YouTube. They've got a very different ethos, and I think that is going to benefit Disney Plus because they're not locked into trying to make money from it the same way. And yeah, so that I can't wait for this kind of stuff.
In point of fact, actually, putting National Geographic's on Disney Plus is probably their way of monetizing it. I'm not sure how they're going to do the breakdowns internally. Obviously, they're not going to share them externally, but I could actually see how putting National Geographic documentaries, including Sea of Shadows, on Disney Plus would actually be like, no, see, we're actually generating more revenue than we were before.
And so speaking of National Geographic, since that's a good tie-in, there was also an interview I thought was really interesting over at Kids Screen, which is about National Geographic kids shows. And basically, by the sounds of it, National Geographic has just been given essentially a blank check. They've been said that they're going to be doing lots of National Geographic's kids shows. They're going to be trying to develop beyond what they do with like books. They've been told by the Disney team basically to develop new content. There's not a set number of hours or quota for them to create. Apparently, they've said that they are looking to make TV shows aimed for between 6 and 12. And the new content can be animated, live action, game shows, competition series. They say that it's an opportunity for us to continue to ramp up across the number of our pillars like animals and nature, exploration and adventure, science and innovation, world culture, all grounded in a fact-based world that we live in. They're going to be there's going to be like the second season of Weird But True will be available on Disney Plus when that launches, with 13 30-minute episodes. And they're going to be creating a new TV series based on the Explorer Academy, which is based on a National Geographic's kids book, where they this is where they're really kind of getting into the fact of they want to reach as many kids as possible. They are really looking, the National Geographic team, I think, seems to have really kind of got that. Feels like they've got, whenever you hear them talking and stuff, there's like excitement about the fact that Disney have come in and I've picked them up and kind of gone, we like what they're doing, here's more money, do more of it, and full support. Whereas maybe Fox wasn't quite as like had that idea, whereas Disney definitely, you see what they're doing with the Fox brands and all the rest of it. National Geographic's been like, yep, we're having you.
Well, Disney, of course, has a lot more funds available than Fox did. Maybe not at their peak, but definitely in the last few years. And they recognize the value of having this National Geographic's brand under them. It's probably not exactly a blank check, but National Geographic's probably has access to funding that they haven't had for a very, very long time, maybe since the heyday of magazines, because that's really where National Geographic's originally made its name. Still does, actually. It's still a great magazine. It's just not many people buy magazines anymore.
Yeah, mine still drops on the. I haven't. I did take out an annual subscription like a year ago, I think, because there's always that kind of thing I used to read at the dentist. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cheap, like $25 for a year. So you're literally looking at three-quarters of the price if you don't buy it. But yeah, it's a great resource. But they definitely seem to be very much aware that they've kind of, and of course now they're being included with all the ABC content of like when they're talking. And they're being positioned, I think, much more as a pillar of the Disney television thing. And they've got their own separate entity that nothing like Freeform or Disney Channel. They've kind of got their own separate thing. And you can definitely see there's like something going on with National Geographic at the moment.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
there's not much else.
No, right. So let's jump on now to some other stories. So again, the Disney Family Movie streaming network that you can get on a number of different platforms in the US is going to be closing down the end of the month. It'll be you've been able to enjoy like commercial-free adverts there. The price, it was basically just put up on the website that when you went on there. It's been running for about 11 years. The price between $5 and $10 a month, and was available through pay TV providers such as Comcast, Xfinity, Charter Communications, Verizon. Is it Fios? Is that right?
Fios.
Cox Communications, and Alice Opians, and AT&T Uvinary. Why is it with American companies and names? They're it's like it makes no sense.
The idea is to get the name of the product as far away from the name of the parent company as possible, because most of the telecom companies do not have particularly good customer service reps. So if we can make you forget what company you're buying from, it helps.
I think it's like here in the UK, we have Sky and Virgin, and that's it. So it's like they keep the name to just what it is. There's maybe Virgin Media, but they kind of keep. I'm much more used to just a simple, or it was Eurobell or something like that. There was no kind of multiple words of just I'm looking and go, that doesn't make any sense. But nevertheless, they're going to be closing this down. Not a huge surprise to me when I saw this, because it makes complete sense for Disney to sort out and clear out some of these old brands and old streaming services. Surprised they didn't give them a bit more notice. But there's also that thing as well of like, are they going to be bringing Disney Plus to those platforms at some point? Probably, possibly. I can't imagine they're not going to, but maybe not at launch, and it might take a while to get them to sort out all the systems and putting it up on this, building the apps and all the rest of it. But yeah, another one bites the dust.
Yeah, so I would expect it to go on to the various telecoms, but it probably won't be the way the movie setup was, where you would buy it as an add-on package to whatever your normal cable subscription was. This would be more like Comcast will have the Disney Plus app built into the set-top box. Verizon will have the Disney Plus set into the set-top box. It'll just be however you navigate through the UI, and then probably try to get like $1 or $2 off of the subscription fee if you subscribe through the set-top box. Now, a lot of people ask about that Xfinity
it coming for there. That seems to be a very, very in-demand system.
I suspect that it will be coming. I have no insider knowledge on whether or not anything is in the works on that, but even though Comcast is planning, the NBC app, and then of course the other companies have their own apps as well, it's in their benefit to have it on the system. It's an extra source of revenue. Might as well try to get a piece of the pie. So jumping back for a sec, I will say this was a surprise announcement for me, but that's because I completely forgot that this service existed. So I was like, oh, what is that? But having thus remembered that it existed, it's now not a surprise. It's like you need to make sure that everything's focused into a single package, and having all these other options just dilutes the package.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to see this going forward a little bit more. I'm still surprised they've not fully pulled the trigger on the website versions that they're doing, but I'm guessing they're still making money from the commercials and stuff through them. But I would imagine the legacy content is going to start evaporating now between Hulu and Disney Plus. It's like, they might make ad revenue, but they want you to subscribe then I can't. It's that kind of system of like, yeah, you want on demand, you're gonna have to pay for it, but they might still offer it for a bit longer. Again, things like Disney Now seem to be safe at the minute because it's, again, a different customer that they're going for. It depends really. I would imagine on once Disney Plus goes, if they put that on the different cable streaming boxes, that might be when they could pull the trigger. That would make more sense then of going, oh, you want it on demand? Yeah, you can pay for it. But nevertheless, we're going to have to wait and see for that one there. There was also a big thing last weekend where they did a big announcement of new content in terms of documentaries. They had a special event where they brought people in from the Documentary Association, and they talked about a number of the documentaries we've already known about, like Encore and Jeff Goldblum, etc. But they also confirmed that they have got distribution rights and picked up the Howard documentary, which was hardly a big surprise. I remember reporting upon this months ago that this was going to be taking place. This is a documentary that is the untold story of Howard Ashman, the lyricist behind Disney classics such as Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, and also created musicals such as Little Shop of Horrors, and it will stream exclusively on Disney Plus in 2020. So
yeah, and I got to see him at D23 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it was a great concert / informative thing because he would tell little stories about building all these up. So I got nothing else to say on that except I'm glad that more people will get to hear these little stories about it.
Yeah. They're also doing a brand new Mickey Mouse documentary, which is going to be done by another big Morgan Neville. So he is making a film that is all about decoding Mickey's deeper significance, getting to the core of his cultural impact, says about each of us and about our world. And yeah, it's all about the analysis of Mickey Mouse as a cultural icon. So I kind of read that and I'm like, oof. To me, it's like, yeah, you're taking. It's like if it was another company doing it, I'd be a little bit more fine with it. But I think when I hear like Disney make it and the reading that, my like warning bells go off and go, yeah, this is gonna be real. Might be a bit too much self-love at this point on this one. It's like, yeah. It might be different.
It might not. Honestly, as long as they market it, the way it is, fine. They can toot their own horns all they want. Just probably won't end up watching it.
Yeah, it's if they go too much one way, it's like we need a little bit of realism in there. Then this one's really caught me off guard. Was a documentary series they're going to be bringing back or relaunching Walt Disney Academy Award-winning series of documentary short films, People and Places, which follows in Walt's footsteps. The series will focus on real-life stories of extraordinary people and places from around the globe that embody the Disney ethos, all told by a mix of up-and-coming established filmmakers. That one was like, okay, this could be a little bit more interesting of maybe going out and speaking to different people and places and just some real like documentary stuff. I quite like the idea of this one.
Yeah, and I'm always down for giving young new creators a chance to get a voice in an actual way, because more often than not here be like my first movie project was creating a Coca-Cola ad for the local theater, and it's like, cool. So I'm glad that they've got this outlet instead.
Yeah, so that's definitely, and I also think continuing on something that like Disney have done before, and it's obviously the fact that it's Oscar, it's won Oscars in the past. It's like, oh, it's got a little bit of brand recognition. They've also announced a documentary series based on the celebrity chef Wolfgang Puck, about his life and work. He does have a number of restaurants and quick service places at the Disney parks. I've never been to one. Have you ever been to a Wolfgang Puck?
I actually have not. I know where they are. I've seen them in Disney Springs. I don't think I've ever actually been to one. And while I'm familiar with his name, because he is a brand name at this point, I know nothing about him. So this will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen him because obviously we have our own chefs over here in the UK popping up on all the different TV stuff. So American chefs, I'm not really that familiar with, but I know this guy from, again, you see the restaurants in the, never been to them. I did notice they did have one in Shanghai, but when we go there, but I'm more likely going to be eating something that's completely, Chinese, because I want to try that. They've also announced some of the details of the upcoming Marvel 616 documentary series. They've said that Gillian Jacobs, who did Love and Community, is going to be directing the first episode, and it's set from the perspective of what it means to be a woman in what is perceived to be a male-driven industry. Higher, Further, Faster will shine a light on the trailblazing women of Marvel Comics and explores how they found ways to tell stories and representation and inclusion. Jacobs will be joined by Paul Sneer, David Gleb, and also Andrew Rossi, among others, to direct episodes of the series. The episodes will focus on a range of topics, including an intimate look at the cosplay community, Marvel's influence and the relationship with hip-hop, illustrators who live and work internationally, and follow a high school theatre production of Marvel and Disney's Spotlight program. Marvel's 616 will stream exclusively on Disney Plus in 2020. Again, sounds a bit better than the... it's kind of a bit of a documentary series, just basically looking at everything that Marvel are doing. The kind of scope's gone out. You're really looking at now, I think, like this documentary stuff where they're going, a lot of this is not necessarily cheap filler. I think as you could kind of look at it and go, this is a lot cheaper to make, but they are looking at going, like, what stories can we tell? What can we make a bit? And people are interested. People are interested in what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that, and, for a lot of people, they don't know the comics stories. They've seen the Marvel movies, they've seen the Avengers, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Iron Man, etc. And they might have a passing understanding of the comics, maybe from when they were kids or just from what's been filtered through into mainstream media. But most people who've seen these movies don't know anything about what's going on with the comics. They don't know who the creators are. They don't know who the other characters are, stuff like that. So yeah, this is another one of those series that maybe is a little bit self-congratulatory, pat ourselves on the back kind of thing. But it does have the potential to kind of just expand on what the movie started. Now, I'm not expecting anybody to be like, oh, I watched this and now I'm going to go buy all the Captain Marvel comics. No, but it should give a better appreciation of where the stories came from in the first place.
I'm just trying to think. There was another Marvel documentary series, wasn't there, with people. And I'm trying to think of what that was called.
Not the superhero project.
Not that one. There was Joe
Quesada was doing one, I think. The former editor-in-chief.
Yeah, there's one that they were like following celebrities around, and I've gone completely blank. But there was another Marvel documentary series they're working on. Getting back to this, they have also said that Science Fair will be available when it launches on November the 12th. This was won a number of awards. They keep pouting this one as kind of like this big thing that it's like a 18-month, 2-year-old documentary. I don't get why they keep bringing this one up as something. It's like, yeah, I understand, they make a big deal of it, but why this one and not all their other documentaries that they've announced? The Gordon Ramsay Uncharted, or the Tales of the White Wolf, or the Stories of the Mind. I just don't. This one here is just a bit of an odd one, and they keep kind of pulling this one up, but it's quite an old documentary. I don't.
I have to assume they looked at the demographics and they looked at its popularity, and even if we don't necessarily understand why, they see a reason to push that particular documentary. So
I nearly watched it last night, actually, because it's on the Disney. Because I was thinking, well, I should probably watch this one because I've not seen it. But I watched Snow White instead. But I will try. I think I probably will try and get this one watched before Disney Plus launches properly, just because of they keep pushing it up, so it must be good. So again, just looking through the list here again, they were then just talking about the other series that they've got coming up, such as the Marvel Hero Project and Jeff Goldblum's and the Encore one. So yeah, it was definitely kind of good to see them kind of getting out there, pushing out the documentary stuff. The documentary stuff is always that kind of weird thing of like, whenever they announce these kind of things, the only one that ever really kind of, and we'll get into this other, it doesn't really push, doesn't seem to get much traction whenever I post a story or a video about these kind of things, until you post something about a Disney park documentary. The Imagineering story is going to be available. They've released a trailer for that one. That one's going to be available on November the 12th. Again, not sure if it's going to be the whole season of 6 episodes or if it will just be the first episode. That's not really too clear yet. But this one's been in the works for years. The trailer came out. Yeah, I'm in, because this is exactly what I want to know about. No more stuff about the parks, about the history of the parks and all the rest of it. This one, again, just seems so much more interesting. And I can't, this is probably, if it's the whole season available, this one won't last long in my watch list.
Yeah, this is pretty high on my list too. And I think a lot of it is Disney is so very careful about making sure that everything in the parks is magical, or you know, you're in the parks, you are in the Disney experience. So we never see, or almost never see, you know, the stuff behind it, you know, the plaster walls and the machines that make it all run, because it's all just, it's magic, it's pixie dust, you know. And it's because they have that you know, thing that they push for the parks, the experience of the parks. It just makes us all want to see the background more. And we get little stories every once in a while of old cast members talking about things they did, but that's really the extent of it.
Yeah.
Maybe if you do the what's it, the Keys to the Kingdom, something like that. One of the walking tours where they'll do that kind of thing. But even those are restricted. You know, that they're very specific rides that you get to see the story behind the scenes. There's stories you hear, but they're always the same set of stories.
Yeah.
This, you know, they're in the trailer. It's like, oh, you're gonna see the inside of the Matterhorn. And like, I don't know if anyone's actually seen the inside of the Matterhorn except for these.
No, because apparently there was always that thing on them of like there being a basketball court at the top, but actually no, it's more just a single hoop at the top. But there's things like that. I mean, I'm really excited about this, but you know, this is the difference of park goers and non-park goers, because people that don't go to the parks this will have no interest, but the park goers, usually that's the kind of because there was this kind of on the Facebook group, someone put up a thing about, like, you know, who's been to Disneyland, and you know, everyone's like, yeah, who, of course, why hasn't? And then there's other people going, no, never been. And it's like there is an audience that hasn't, but I think usually that, you know, once you've been to the park, you'll kind of fall in love with it, and these kind of shows are definitely going to pull it in. You know, I'm really excited about this series. I'm kind of, it's like, at one hand, they go, yeah, do it weekly, and that would kind of nicely spread it out a bit for me. But I could see that this one's been waiting around for a long time, this series. There were a couple of other series as well that I think are going to be on there that they've not really been pushing. But it wouldn't be too bad if there's a few completely binge-worthy shows on there as well. But yeah, the Imagineering trailer looks fantastic. I'm definitely into for this series.
Yeah, definitely. And even in the trailer, we saw stuff that most people have never seen, like the actual creation of the rides, where they've got the test people. There's no props up. There's no paintings up. It's just a wooden block with windows in it, and like, oh, and that became a ride.
Yeah. And also, I mean, this was originally just a documentary movie that was going to come out years ago. It's going to come out like 3 years ago, and it got, I think essentially they decided to turn this into a bigger project. So it went from like a 2-hour documentary to a 6-hour series. You know, that's a big jump. I mean, for me, I'm there going, yeah, 6-hour series about it. That's giving me 3 times more work. That's great. Sounds good to me.
I have no problem with that.
So that is good. So let's move on now. We've got Fox Searchlight released a trailer of, no, sorry, not a trailer. They're going to be releasing a movie called Wendy in 2020, which is all about basically the Peter Pan story from Wendy's point of view. So while this one's a Fox movie, it's obviously based around Peter Pan. It then will no doubt have to go to HBO first. But again, it's just felt like, yeah, that's got a Disney Plus in 2023 vibe to it. It's going to be a while off till we can see it all, until they sort out all these deals. Another big story that's broke was Studio Ghibli. There's been one of those questions that's been asked multiple times. And the thing is with Studio Ghibli movies is it's kind of you're in one or two camps. You're in either the camp of their Disney movies, or you're in the camp of, no, you know everything about them and knew they weren't. But the thing is, in the US, Disney released movies. They released them under the banner. They even had them in Blu-rays with the Disney logo on the top of it saying Disney Presents. And they did this for years until they lost the license back in 2017. They have since announced this past week that they're all going to be coming to HBO Max when it launches next year. There's about 20 plus movies in there. I've only seen a couple of them, like Spirited Away. I've kind of missed a lot of these. I was hoping they were going to come to Disney Plus because I was kind of quite interested in them, but the big problem was going on was for years, and even up till the same week that this news came out, Polygon put up an article about the fact that the owners behind it didn't want them on any digital medium. They wanted you all to go to the cinema to watch them at the replays. And then literally 2 days later, HBO deal. It was like, yeah, they were holding out, obviously trying to get the best deal they could for it, but they weren't even available digitally to buy. You couldn't get them digitally at all. So it's been a real like odd one, really, of people just like either really expecting them because they thought they were Disney movies, and then a load of people just not. But it's kind of like one of those weird things going, yeah, I would have really liked this collection on Disney Plus. This would have been a really good addition to it.
Oh yeah, I was very sad by this news. I'm a big Studio Ghibli fan, specifically the Hayao Miyazaki movies, but they have a very good catalog. And it's not just that they were released under the Disney banner. Pixar did the translations and the dubbed audio recordings. You know, John Lasseter was in charge of those, and he used to say how much of a friend he was with Hayao Miyazaki. So it's not just like Disney brought it over and slapped their name on it. And that was they. No, they were actually very involved in this process, or Pixar was anyway. So when it was announced that HBO Max was like, this doesn't feel right. Now, I always knew they weren't Disney movies. No. I knew they came over. So I've got one foot in each camp on that side. But yeah, I go through the list of Ghibli movies and I'm just like, yeah, I wish I had better access to them. But it's not going to get me to get HBO Max because the ones that I want, I already have on video, on Blu-ray. So
yeah, I think for me,
them that way.
Yeah, for me, it's more the case of like, had they all been on Disney Plus, I'd be like, oh, I'll give them a go because I've not seen them before. I mean, I used to watch like a lot of manga and Japanese and anime stuff back when I was at college, but because Channel 4 used to show them at midnight and I used to record them and all the rest of it. But it kind of fell away from it all and didn't really watch so much of it. So I was looking at this going, yeah, I would have watched them if they'd been on Disney Plus. I am not going to take out HBO. It's also interesting, well, it's US only, this deal for HBO Max. Again, HBO Max is they seem to be doing that thing of like narrowing in on the US when everybody else is kind of going, no, we need to go the exact opposite direction of it does feel like, you know, Disney are very much in that line of going, they need this to go everywhere. So that it was a bit of a situation, I think, for people that weren't aware of it, but nevertheless, you know, at least we know now. I'm just glad that we had the press release, so I can actually, at least when people ask, you can kind of go, no.
Yeah. I would have liked.
Also,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, carry on.
Okay, I would have liked to have this them on Disney Plus because while I'm very familiar with the Hayao Miyazaki movies, stuff like Kiki's Delivery Service, Castle in the Sky, Spirited Away, they have done a bunch of other stuff with other directors. And I haven't seen most of those, and it would have been a nice chance to see those. Also, I just want to clarify a little bit on this one because, you know, we talk about it as Japanese animation, they're anime, and a lot of people have a very specific view of what anime is, probably from the same stuff that you saw growing up as a kid. You know, the very mature titles, Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and then what you see now, which is a lot of very young girls and weird situations and kind of iffy vibes. These movies are not that. These are very much Disney movies if they were made in Japan. Disney was a huge influence on Hayao Miyazaki. These are very, for the most part, wholesome movies. They're very cute, fun, enjoyable movies that do not make you sit there go, why is that 12-year-old highly provocative? It's not that kind of movie.
I think, yeah, I was going to say, because I think it's like, obviously, again, we're at that point now where we've grown up with animation being a form of content that is just a way of, it's a bit like comparing South Park, and it's why people have this problem with things like South Park and Family Guy and those kind of things, because people are still looking at cartoons as cartoons. They still view, and anime and stuff kind of pushed the boundaries of that whole thing, really. And yeah, I think, I don't know if it's just an age difference, but I do know that there's a number of people that look at anything animated and think kids, and then are surprised when something isn't, and then put everything in, to just literally label the entire worth of like Japanese animation style as one particular thing. We wouldn't do the same thing with animation in the US, but that's you would. People do,
but people do. But people do.
Yeah,
in any event, that's going off topic. Yeah. But yeah, very sad that Studio Ghibli is not part of Disney Plus.
Yes, so, and apparently as well, on the subject of South Park, apparently there was a bit of a bidding war going on now with Hulu and stuff trying to get hold of those episodes. I was like, I haven't watched South Park for years. I used to be a massive South Park fan at college. I used to have all the figures and posters up, and Kenny's dead and all the rest. But it's a bit like, I don't know how much of that will date. Not quite as like when I think of like big money sitcoms, South Park doesn't really come up, because so much of that is, especially the last 5-10 years, they've all been very much more like what's happening right this week. And that might not age quite as well as it. But yeah, that's nevertheless. A couple of other things in returns to series. High School Musical, the series has been picked up for a second season. Also, the 4th season of Raven's Home has been confirmed as well. They are filming that. And also, Marvel apparently are looking to reboot the Inhumans, unsurprisingly, because of the upcoming Miss Marvel series. They are looking to kind of maybe recast and redo it. Apparently Vin Diesel is in negotiations or something, because he wants to do Black Bolt. And also, this is where this article got, I was a bit like, the guy that played Quicksilver was in like maybe in talks to play the evil brother, and I'm like, this is getting a bit, we can't really do that, especially if they bring Quicksilver back in WandaVision. It's like, yeah, this seemed a bit odd. I mean, I also did think Vin Diesel as Black Bolt, like, he's really kind of pushing the vocabulary that he's doing in Marvel. Like, he has one character where he only says, I am Groot, or we are Groot, and another character where he doesn't talk. He's really pushing.
He knows his strengths.
Yeah, I
actually do like Vin Diesel quite a bit. He found a good little action niche for himself, but it's been a while since he's done a good non-Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But yeah, you're right. Not going to be stressing his vocal cords all that much with that one. Yeah, Marvel has to be very, very careful with recasting and rebooting series at this point. They can get away with it with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, because those are completely different universes. But when you start reusing actors, when you start reusing characters, you really muddy things up about what is and is not part of the universe. And I mean, we already talked about this a bit previously, because Blade is being played by one of the villains of the first season of Luke Cage. You can kind of get away with that because he's only villain for half the season. They just look very similar, so sure, go with that. But when you actually recasting none of the Inhumans are major characters, but an actual recognizable main character from the Inhumans, or all of them, it starts to get fuzzier. Now, I would rather they just forget about the Inhumans entirely. Just Miss Marvel is no longer an Inhuman. We'll just leave it at that.
I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more about them, and maybe they can change them around a little bit.
Actually, because the Inhumans were originally introduced in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a completely different capacity than the later Inhumans show, or they could just continue using the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. version, which is closer to the comics anyway. Where they Kamala Khan she gets mutated by the Terrigen Mist, and boom, now she's Miss Marvel. And we don't need Black Bolt or Maximus or any of those characters except Lockjaw, because Lockjaw is cool.
Yeah,
the dog.
Lockjaw's good. But I think as well, if they keep it to a couple characters, it probably would. I think the problem with the Inhumans was that series was
A mess.
It was a mess because it was billed as the start of the MCU on television, and they had that big. I remember them having that big thing about the first 2 episodes coming to cinemas, and it was shot in IMAX, and it was hype, and then the series was no more different than the Flash or Arrow or anything like that, and it was like, ooh, it wasn't dreadful. I mean, if you've never seen it, it's going to be on Disney Plus. I would actually say, if you've got time, watch it. It's not that bad. It's not dreadful. It's not the top of your queue. It's nowhere near the top of your queue, but it definitely is perfectly fine. It's only 8 episodes.
Yeah. And it's acceptable. The main problem with it was they marketed it poorly, and then, as you said, they did the IMAX release of the first 2 episodes, which were not in any way, shape, or form designed to be shown in a movie format. There's no conclusion at the end of the second episode that's satisfying. It's not even a major cliffhanger item. It's just, this is the end of the second episode. Third episode will be on TV. Well, why the heck did I go to the IMAX for this nonsense?
It was a bit of an odd one. But yeah, I think that pretty much, I'm just looking at the news. I think that pretty much covers.
We got the big one.
Oh, yes, the trailers. Yes, the trailers. Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, that's the end of the news section. So let's move on to the trailers. So we saw a new trailer for Rise of Skywalker, which tickets are available now. It's coming out in cinemas in the US on November the 20th or 19th?
December.
Sorry, December, yeah.
I think it's the 19th.
Yeah.
Well, the official release date is that Friday, but as is now typical, it's actually releasing on the Thursday night beforehand.
Yeah, because I'm going to see it on the Thursday, because we're getting it like a day early. So I've got my ticket for like 9 o'clock on the Thursday morning to go see it. Trailer looks good. I definitely sells me more on this series. It's a better trailer, much better trailer than the one we saw before. We're really seeing that whole kind of, they are really teasing the fact that we have got the Emperor and we're basically on the Death Star, and they're fighting on the Death Star remains. And yeah, it's, we know that Leia dies because,
we don't.
Well, they use her force thing, because Rey gets the she kind of the voice in her head, doesn't she?
Well, yeah, but that I was reading more as a trailer bit, because you remember all the way back several years ago when we first got the Force Awakens trailer, and you get that monologue by Luke Skywalker talking about, and my sister has it, and you have it, and he doesn't have a single line in the entire movie. So we don't know. That could just be trailer magic. So I'm not willing, or I'm not ready to write off that Leia will die in the movie, but it would certainly make sense given that it would be extremely expensive for them to continue having her in movies and television shows, considering Carrie is no longer with us. But yeah, for the trailer itself, it was much better than the other trailer. We didn't have silliness like that slinky lightsaber. That said, I'm still not entirely confident that we're going to get a satisfying ending to this trilogy, but I'm closer to being confident than I was before this trailer, if that makes any sense at all.
It was that kind of weird thing, because I bet that whole thing like with C-3PO, I'm with my friends with the lads, and I'm like, ooh, corny. Other people loved it. Like, I was tearing up. I'm like, ooh, corny. But again, I'm not so good at that kind of soppy stuff. But it was, I watched it and I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is what they need to do. This is the end. I mean, the whole thing of, we're ending the saga. Don't worry, we've got loads more movies coming in.
Yeah, I know. We're ending the Skywalker saga, but I'm not sure anyone actually believes that. So
I'm still going with the idea, because having watched Force Awakens this week, that Kylo is the Skywalker that is the Rise. And that's my prediction. I think all this stuff with Rey is a distraction. That's my gut take, is I still think that Kylo is the Skywalker that is the Rise of the Skywalker, because he's fighting the light and all the rest of it. I know,
Well, he does seem to, in that one sequence, team up briefly with Rey to destroy that statue thing or whatever. I don't know. We'll see.
No.
We'll have to wait and see. I could be swayed either way. I'm not really gonna lay down a prediction at this point. I'm just gonna go with the flow. But I can see all sorts of arguments. The Rey is a clone of Skywalker from his hand getting cut off in Empire Strikes Back, to she's a clone of the Emperor, to she's nobody, to it was Kylo all along, whatever. We'll find out when we find out. I do know, or at least I have the feeling that Disney has been trying to build up to this I am your father moment for this entire trilogy. That's why so much of it has been shrouded in secrecy. Whether they can live up to that or not is an entirely different matter. We'll see.
It's that kind of whole thing, isn't it? Of like, so no, she's a Skywalker, or she is Luke. You know, it's that thing of they've kind of been building this whole thing up from the get-go with the fact of her never really. But then also, you know, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but we're just going to have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, that one there was a great trailer. It's highest selling movie. It's kind of outsold Avengers Endgame. I mean, all these fans that don't want like Star Wars and don't want to go see it, they certainly bought the tickets.
I certainly bought the tickets. I bought my ticket. I mean, that was never in question for however I might talk about Last Jedi and all that stuff. This was never really in question. I've got a cat sitting on my cord right now. There we go. One final note on the trailer. It certainly looked like the ghost from Star Wars Rebels was in that that giant sequence. So I'm kind of excited for that. Even if it was just, you know, even if they just threw it in there to be like, hey, it's the ghost and there's nothing to do with the Rebels team at all. You don't even hear like General Syndulla or whatever. I don't know how old she would be at that point. I don't know how old.
Because Hera, I mean, this is the thing of like the age factor of them, you know, because this is set 20 plus years.
It could be her kid. We know from the end of Rebels that she had a kid. But again, it might just be an Easter egg that they threw into the fleet of ships, and they will not mention the ghost at all in any shape or form. They will not name drop anything. Chopper won't be in it. Whatever.
Because it appeared in Rogue One anyway.
It did.
And
it's just a nice throwback.
And it sells more toys because they just recently re-released it for the X-Wing miniature game that I was playing last week. So it's
a really good Lego set. Honestly, I mean that's an old one. You can't get it anymore. You have to go on eBay and spend exorbitant amounts of money on it. But it is a really good Lego set.
Right, and I think that pretty much wraps up this week's episode. There was tons of news. It's kind of we're definitely that feeling now that we have got like one or two more episodes in pre-launch mode. And I just want to put out there that don't worry, the podcast isn't going anywhere when it launches. That's the whole point, was to start talking about the shows and the movies and stuff. So it's going to be great when we're actually at the point where everyone's got it, or most people have got it, and you know we've got the new shows, and we kind of get out of the launch period. It's been a long time coming because I think this is actually episode 50 of
really?
I think last week's was 49. So I think this is so we're coming up to nearly a year since we started the podcast. So we've been doing. It's amazed of how much there was news, because when we started, our episodes were about 15 to 20 minutes long, and gradually they just stretched out. But yeah, it's been a year. So we're about to go into literally when we hit November, we're into year 2 of the What's on Disney Plus podcast. But
and we have yet to actually see a show on
What's on Disney Plus. We've done really well. But nevertheless, let us know what you think of all of this stuff in the comments below. Get in touch with us on our Facebook group. You can find us over there. We've got 37,000 people there. We've gone over 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, so subscribe there definitely. And also, as I said, you can find us on Patreon as well, and you can help support the podcast there as well. So a big thank you to all of our Patreons, and we shall see you guys next week with another episode. Later.